everyone, and welcome to another spooky Monday Moments with Moon, where today I'll be talking with you guys about the origin of Halloween while playing Hypixel's Trick and Treat game. So, let's get into it. Now, Halloween was originally known as the Celtic holiday of Samhain. It was done on November 1st, as that was the day that marked the end of summer and the start of winter. It was a time in which many cultures, including the Spanish, who celebrated the Day of the Dead, believed that ghosts could cross over into our world. But unlike the Day of the Dead, which is a time to celebrate those who have passed on, the Celtics believed these ghosts were able to damage crops and cause other problems. But it wasn't all bad, as it was a time for priests to predict the future. The celebration itself involved bonfires with crop and animal sacrifices, and the dressing up in costumes mostly consisting of animal heads and skins. Then enters the Roman Empire, who had their own celebration to celebrate the passing of the dead, called the Ferialaway, which I probably mispronounced, but I tried. These two traditions began to mix during the 400 years the Roman Empire ruled over the Celtics. Now, Ferialaway is one of the 3 Roman festivals honoring the dead. The goal of this tradition is to prevent those who had passed from coming back to where they had once lived. To do this, they would lay gifts on the graves to appease the dead. In 1000 AD, the Church had created All Souls' Day as a day to honor the dead in attempts to replace the Celtic festival. It had the bonfires and parades and the dressing up in costumes, though the costumes were no longer animals, but of saints, angels, and devils. As the tradition continued to be celebrated, it began to be called All Hallows' Eve, and then eventually Halloween. The tradition of trick-or-treating also took its origins around the time of the celebration's name change. It may have started as the poor asking those who are richer for the cakes needed to pray for the souls of one's dead relatives, a practice known as souling, as the cakes were called soul cakes. Soon, it was the children who would be doing it, and they began to ask for gifts in general, such as food, money, and ale. Adding to the fun, the youth would dress up in costumes, such as they did for the parades already common in the time. Eventually, asking for gifts to help plead for the souls of the dead turned to a trick having to be performed to get rewarded with fruit, nuts, or coins. These tricks were commonly songs, poems, jokes, or other types of performances. So how did Halloween become the way it is today? Well, tricks, actual mean tricks, pranks, I guess you could say, were introduced right before and during the Great Depression, with many youth taking this holiday as the time to play pranks and scare people. World War II and the shortages it caused put a stop to the worst of it, but a good trick never really left, immortalizing itself in the term trick-or-treat. Candy made its switch from homemade treats to store-bought around 1950 due to an increased fear of people poisoning these homemade treats. Finally, Halloween costumes were always a part of the tradition, but in the 20th century, costumes became more store-bought and also more general to children, and away from the more spooky kinds such as witches and ghosts. Mind you, at least where I live, I think kids' costumes have only gotten more creepy, with costumes holding more fake gore to the point where I can't tell what some of these kids' costumes are. But while I was a kid, I was dressed up as a butterfly, fairy, and princess for most of my Halloweens. And that was something that wasn't really acceptable as a good costume until relatively recently. And that is a brief overview of the history of Halloween. I want to note that while I made sure all the sources I got my info from are fact-checked, I still cannot guarantee that I didn't get anything wrong. So if you're truly curious about anything I said, go research it for yourself. Anyways, it was fun to do a bit more of a research-heavy episode for one of these, and if you enjoyed it as well, please let me know, so I know if I should make more or not. But that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!